So get this. For today's deep dive, we're going digital.
Digital?
Yeah, we're diving headfirst into the wacky world of internet searches.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And we're shining the spotlight on a true legend, the one and only Tony Todd.
Tony Todd, the Candyman himself.
The Candyman.
Okay.
Exactly. But here's the thing, right? When we look at these searches, it's like we're not just seeing random words, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we're getting this, like, glimpse into what the internet's thinking about him.
Yeah.
Like, what's piquing their curiosity about Tony Todd.
Right, right. It's like a digital fingerprint of the public consciousness, you know?
Exactly. And today's mission, should we choose to accept it, we're going to try and decode these searches, figure out what they tell us about how people see Tony Todd, especially when it comes to Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, some of these searches are pretty wild.
Oh, I bet. I mean, Candyman is such an iconic horror film, and Tony Todd's performance is unforgettable. So what kinds of things are people searching for?
Well, first off, there's a lot of repetition, right? Like tons of searches with both Tony Todd and Candyman together over and over.
That's interesting. What do you think that means?
Well, to me, it says that connection between Tony Todd and Candyman. It's like super strong in people's minds. Like they're almost inseparable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It makes you wonder if that's always a good thing for an actor. I mean, getting typecast can be tough.
Typecast?
Yeah, you know, like when an actor gets so strongly associated with a particular role that it's hard to break free from it, it can actually limit the kinds of roles they get offered.
I get it. So like maybe people just see Tony Todd as Candyman and that's it.
Right, and that's not fair because he's such a talented actor with a diverse filmography, but it's understandable. I mean, Candyman left a huge mark on popular culture.
No kidding. But speaking of leaving a mark, some of these searches, well, they're kind of morbid. Lots of people asking, is Tony Todd dead? Or how did Tony Todd die? Which, newsflash, totally not true.
Oh, wow. So misinformation is running rampant, even about something as sensitive as someone's death.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy how easy it is for fake news to spread online, especially when you have these, like, instant search results popping up.
It really highlights the importance of being critical thinkers and double-checking our sources before we believe anything we read online.
100%.
Yeah.
We can't just take everything at face value, you know? Okay, moving on. Let's talk about some of the searches related to the Candyman films themselves. We see a lot of searches for both Candyman 1992 and Candyman 2021. It's like the franchise has struck a chord with different generations.
Absolutely. I mean, the original Candyman, the one from '92, wasn't just a horror film, you know. Yeah. It touched on these really complex themes like race, urban legends, even the power of belief. And then the 2021 film, it acted as both a sequel and this sort of spiritual successor, bringing those themes to a new audience.
Yeah, that was such a cool way to revisit the story. And it's interesting how the searches reflect those different ways people connect with the franchise. Like you have folks who are nostalgic for the original, and then you have those discovering the story for the first time with the newer film.
Totally. And it's not just limited to Candyman either. I mean, you were talking about Tony Todd's diverse filmography earlier.
Oh, right. Like we also see searches for Tony Todd Venom. And get this, even Tony Todd Star Trek.
Star Trek, wow, he really has been in everything. That's fantastic.
I know, right? It shows that people are curious about his work beyond Candyman, which is awesome.
Absolutely. It's so important to recognize the full breadth of an actor's career and not just define them by a single role.
Couldn't agree more. And, you know, it's funny how this ties back to the whole misinformation thing we were talking about earlier, right? Just because something shows up in a search result doesn't make it true. Just like those searches about Tony Todd's death.
Right. It all comes back to being discerning online. We need to be mindful of the information we consume, you know?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's wrap things up. It's been quite a journey through the search results today. I feel like we've uncovered some really interesting insights.
Me too. It's fascinating how these searches can reveal so much about public perception and how information, both accurate and inaccurate, spreads online.
So to recap, it seems the internet remembers Tony Todd most for his role as the iconic Candyman, a role that continues to resonate across generations. However, there's also a lot of curiosity about his other work, showing that people are interested in seeing him beyond that one defining role.
Definitely. But the fact that there's misinformation out there about him, even something as serious as rumors of his death, just highlights how important it is to be careful about what we believe online.
Exactly. So as we conclude our little deep dive, I'd like to leave our listeners with a thought to ponder. When you're online, remember to think critically about the information you encounter. Don't just accept everything you see as fact. Do your own research, check your sources, and always be willing to question what you see.
And remember, folks, an actor's career is more than just one role. Explore. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Well said. And on that note, we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.